Alright, so real quick before we get into the mapping, I want to walk through some of the interfaces because A2X, the feedback I'm getting, sometimes can be a little intimidating. So obviously you have some graphs here at the top. We're at the home screen, the dashboard. What you're going to see is there's a short view of like the last 5 or 10 settlements, and you'll see that from the dashboard. And so what you'll see from this is this actually mirrors a lot of what you'd see in Seller Central. So you have the dates. So for example, September 9th to September 23rd, that's a 2-week period. All these should be 2-week periods. And then you have the total payout that you received in your bank account, what marketplace it was. Then you have these status icons. So taxes, accounts, sent. So these taxes and accounts, this is going to make a lot more sense to you in the next video when we map the taxes and accounts over to zero. And then the sent column is simply, hey, did this data make its way into zero? If the sent column is red, you can manually send it over to zero, or you can also just review line by line. I don't generally review very much. If you change something to the account mapping, it may be a good idea to go and refresh, and you can also export, or delete. One thing is, maybe you want to send over all these at the same time without clicking each individual send to zero link. There's a kind of a discrete little toolbar function where you can enable bulk functions. And what you do is just go ahead and use this checkbox to select all the ones you want to select. And then you can bulk send all these sales over to zero. So this bulk function is kind of handy every now and then. But this is the general layout is payout by payout. There's a status, and then there's actions you can perform on them. That's kind of the dashboard. But kind of the heart and soul of the tool, A2X, is in the accounts and taxes. So taking a look at the accounts and taxes, this is really where it gets kind of overwhelming. So I'm going to kind of try to break this down for you. But essentially, Amazon, in every single payout, the bigger you are, the more line items are. But when Amazon sends you a payout, it's really a combination of sales, a few different types of sales, but then a lot of different fees. And so what A2X has tried to do is they tried to group each of these line items. You could have 20, 30, 40, 50 line items in a payout. What A2X does, it tries to group them first into transaction types. So maybe adjustment transactions, lending transactions, sales, reimbursements, etc. And then what it does is inside of these transaction types, you'll likely find individual line items. So for example, in the commission and selling fees category, there was a Amazon.com order item fees commission, refund item fees commission. There's a lot. And so when you hit this plus sign to see all the different line items that make up all the different accounts. And so what our goal is with this screen is we want to make sure every single line item is mapped to a certain account in zero and to a tax account in zero. And so actually in the next video I'm going to share a lot more about how to actually accomplish that, but this is just the main kind of heart and soul of the mapping tool. And with this mapping tool you can expand. Bottom, you can save the mappings, and you can also enable auto mapping, because kind of what happens here is from time to time, as the tool says, Amazon will include new, previously unseen income and expense transactions. And a lot of times these are just like one-time events, for example, like warehouse damages, chargebacks. So what A2X lets you do is, like, if you sign an account and a tax rate for this whole category, whenever a new transaction comes in and A2X matches it to that category, it'll automatically map it, so you don't ever have to come in and update. I like to map it more granular, and sometimes I tend to not turn on auto mapping. If that's something you want to do, you feel free, but in the next video I'm going to share a little bit more about how to actually make sure you get the right accounts mapped in here.